What's up everyone, my name is TotsIGots and today we're going to be playing Tyranny. So this is going to be a blind playthrough, have not even touched it, haven't tried it at all. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in here and yeah, we're going to have a new game, brand new everything. So let's see, I think we're just going to stay with the normal mode I suppose because I haven't even tried playing this game yet. So I believe first things first, they'll have a character creation section in which obviously we create our character.
For over 400 years, the armies of Kairos the Overlord have swept across the known world. All who stood against them fell before their might. Even the Archons, women and men of immense power, were forced to kneel, chained to the Overlord's will. Now Kairos' final conquest has come to our corner of the world, and two of the Overlord's armies compete for the honor of taking our lands. The elite disfavored, and the teeming horde of the Scarlet Chorus. The voices of Nerat, spymaster and archon of secrets, guides the fierce and undisciplined masses of the Scarlet Chorus. With each battle, the Scarlet Chorus grows stronger, as the defeated are given a simple choice: serve or die. Graven Ash, Archon of War and the Overlord's most loyal general, leads the disfavored. Though small in number, Kairos' ironclad legion has never met true defeat in open battle. Watching over the two generals is Tyranny, the Adjudicator, Archon of Justice, eldest of Kairos' minions. Tyranny brings Kairos' laws to newly conquered lands, aided by the Fatebinders, judges and executioners of the Overlord's laws. You were among the youngest of the court of Fatebinders when Kairos' armies came to our lands. How could we have known that the fate of thousands would rest in your hands?
Alright, so first off here we have the appearance of our character, and already we can see the sort of unique style of their characters here. It's not, while this game has just come out in November of 2016, you can see here that they have a different kind of style. It's not super polished, but at the same time it's kind of like an RTS isometric game, so I guess they went with that kind of style. So yeah, I'm just gonna customize my character a little bit. They have 5 skin colors and different body types here, so let's just go with this. Read over here. So, in the Northern Empire where you were born, men enjoy equal protections under the laws of the Overlord Kairos. In the southern lands of the tiers, only men may own or captain ships, but real estate is restricted to women. Men may lease, but durable ownership of the land in the tiers always passes to eldest daughter or sister. Most sons enter their father's profession by their mid-teens. Those without a profession or family lands to work can find purpose by pledging service to one of the Overlord's mighty archons. Criminals, derelicts, and others are often conscripted into the army of the Archons. If a child cannot forge his own scheme, he will certainly find one in one. So I like this here. They have a little tooltip for, I guess, important figures in the world that we might not know, obviously, since we just came into this game. So Kairos is a name out of legend. For centuries, the Overlord has consolidated power, sending vast armies to swallow entire realms. The most powerful mystic the world has ever seen, Kairos can issue edicts, magical proclamations that level cities, spread plots, sunder the lands, or change the course of seasons. deeper details. We have a little bit more of an in-depth look at who Kairos is. So here you can go ahead and read that if you want. Pause the game. I am going to continue here with the character creation. So next we have what his face and hair looks like. So hair color, I think we might just stick with black because that's what my actual hair color is. But we will go ahead and change the hairstyle here. Looks like they don't have that many hairstyles per se. Just giving you a look of what they kind of look like. And it looks like this one was the best haircut. This one over here. So we're gonna stay with that one. They also have voices here, so let's take a look.
That wasn't so hard.
We must rest soon.
Ha! Good work! I'll just hold on to this.
That wasn't so hard. On the lookout. We must rest soon.
I suppose that would work. Male noble. As for facial hair, with this hairstyle, I feel like nothing would really fit. So I think we're gonna leave the facial hair out of this. As far as tattoos go, you can get tattoos, and you can also change the primary and secondary colors. It's pretty neat. But I think as far as this goes, we're gonna unless I find a really nice tattoo, I don't see myself getting one, to be honest. Maybe a nice little flower. But we're just gonna go tattoo-less. For a portrait, got a couple different ones. I can't tell if that is a female. I think that is a female. So I guess we'll go for something like that. Yeah, that looks like me. Yeah, looks good. All right. So yeah, this is our appearance. So how did you join Kairos's army? So we have the backgrounds of the different classes here. We also have the main origin. So today you are a Fatebinder, agent of the Archon of Justice. You are by no means free, but as a warrior, scholar, deputized with discretionary powers to interpret and execute the laws of the Overlord Kairos. You are freer than most. One does not apply to be a Fatebinder. One is called by Tunon, the Archon of Justice, and to decline is death. Is death. Millions of men and women live in the dozens of realms ruled by the Overlord. How did you stand out from amongst this teeming mass of desperation and insignificance and gain the Archon's notice? Not quite sure. That's the tooltip for Tunon. That doesn't sound too good. But yes, here's the one for Pit Fighter, Hunter, Guild Apprentice, Noble Scion, Soldier, Lawbreaker, War Mage, and finally the Diplomat. As far as what I'm going to choose, I'm probably going to go with Soldier, just because I usually pick that, I suppose, whenever I play these types of games. So you also get a primary expertise, it seems, and you were trained in the following combat styles. So as one of Tunon's Fatebinders, you receive training in the arts of war, the intrigue of magic, and the inexhaustible depths of Kairos' law. Across the Northern Empire, the education of a Fatebinder is second to none. Those bearing the titles are expected to read instructions and understand the economies of the realms in which they operate. Literacy and mathematics, skills rarely found on Terratis, are essential skills in the execution of law. Subtler talents like speechcraft or tactics are honored with time and experience under Tumon's guidance. So, to match with obviously being a soldier, I guess I'll go with sword and shield, and we get to choose an ability. So Slam your shield against the target, dazing them for a moderate duration. So we can slam our shield against a target and dazes them, or deliver a powerful overhead attack that reduces the target's movement. I think having this would fit well with the sword and shield for that. So that looks good right there. Next, oh, and we get a secondary expertise. That's nice. So I think we're gonna go with just spear and shield. I feel like that would make more sense, I guess, right? Yeah. It's pretty cool. Alright. So there we go. Oh, we also get a little banner in our own colors. I'm sure you can change this later, but let's go look at our banner first. We have quite a few emblems to choose from. Oh, huh. Okay. Let's see. Something that matches with like a shield, I guess, would be nice. That looks nice. Yeah. As far as the colors go, I want something like that. But the gold might actually fit pretty well. They don't have too many, like, I wouldn't say good colors, but definitely none that are really intriguing, I suppose. Not very easy to play with, per se. Like, I don't know, who would really pick like a purple banner? I don't know. Maybe a blue. I think that is a nice blue. Pick blue there. Blue there. That doesn't look that bad. Blue and white. I think this would have to be gray still. Or black. Maybe gray. Fits with the armor a little bit more, but I think black. Yeah. This looks good. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go on for the name. Of course, we're gonna name it TotsIGots, and that's next. So, looking for the attributes, we want to focus, it seems, on might and finesse. So, might determines the physical strength of a character, obviously, and increased might leads to more powerful attacks and stronger abilities, as well as increasing the endurance defense. So, strongly recommended because of your training in sword and shield and spear and shield, obviously. So I would have thought that vitality might have been something as well. So we do have 8 points available. What we might want to invest in is maybe 5 here, or sorry, 4 here, 3 here, maybe 1 in vitality, or 2 in vitality. I'll take 1 away from... Not sure. I think we'll just keep it here for now. I don't want to, because each attribute obviously gives something good to the character, so you don't necessarily want to take away from it. So we'll just leave it at that for now. Oh, we also get skills here, so one-handed weapons. Might as well just up it to 40 since I have 2 skills that involve a sword and shield, right? So those are one-handed weapons. I don't think we really need any of this. Let's go for support skills, I guess. So athletics determines a character's ability to traverse difficult terrain as well as their ability to execute complicated moves in combat, so we definitely want that. Athletics is also used in dialogue to determine your ability to intimidate or physically overpower someone. Impress others with your intelligence, deceive others. Okay, so I think parry would do well since we have a sword. I feel like this would do well in athletics. Maybe add one more to dodge, perhaps. And then obviously we'll get more skills along the way, so. Okay, selecting the Conquest option will allow you to play through Kairos' Conquest of the Tiers, choosing how your character was involved in the invasion. This gives you the most control over the starting state of the game and how other factions will react to your character. We want the full Tyranny experience, so let's go ahead and start with our Conquest.
All the world has fallen to Kairos, and now the Overlord's eye is on the Tiers, our home. The last corner of the world free of Kairos' reign. Two armies, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, march south from the Northern Empire, the last realm to fall to Kairos a century prior. In the early days of 428, Kairos' armies arrive at the Gates of Judgment, the mountainous border that we Tiersmen so long believed unassailable. Unable to agree on a unified plan of defense, the various leaders of the Tiers sit and wait for each other to deal with the conquerors, until it's too late.
Alright, so during the Conquest, you will decide your character's actions during Kairos' invasion of the Tiers, shaping the world through which you will adventure over the course of the game. Each choice you make affects your character and how major factions of the Tiers respond to you. Your decisions matter. Choose wisely, of course. So we're in the year 428 TR, year 1 of Kairos' conquest. So, the bastard city stood on the northern border between Kairos' empire and the Tiers. Built upon a natural harbor at the crossroads between the realms, the city was a nexus of commerce. To the Tiers, it was center of all wealth. To a northerner, it was a little more than a backwater trading post. Its symbolic status as a gateway to the continent made it a natural first target in Kairos' military conquest. Circumstances were ideal for you to prove your worth as a soldier in Kairos' army. Taking this city would send a message to the rest of the Tiers. Kairos' will is insurmountable. And that's for the bastard city there. And we will continue on. Select a token on the map to begin. Infiltrate the Tiers. Both armies sent their forces to prepare the way, or Gates of Judgment. In the first major engagement of the war, Kairos' armies crossed the mountains and established a foothold. I mean, we could try this here. History would remember the Gates of Judgment as the first battle of the conquest, but the real combat unfolded with advanced units of both armies preparing for the coming war. The Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus each had a plan to infiltrate the capital city. Which army did you join? Well, look here. Disciplined and battle-hardened, the Disfavored are an elite legion in Kairos' army. They spearheaded the conquest of the younger realms, finding themselves always outnumbered, but never outclassed. Led by the steadfast and dutiful Graven Ash, whom they follow with obsessive devotion, they are committed to imposing their interpretation of order upon the relative lawlessness of the Tiers. The Legion only tolerates Northerners in their ranks, priding themselves on their high standards and cultural purity. Whereas the Scarlet Chorus, a little more than a gang of thugs and their captive slaves. Rather than organized under commissioned officers, the Chorus follow a hierarchy, seemingly ruled by whoever has the bravado to command and defend their position. At the head of the chaotic pecking order, the Archon of Secrets, better known as the Voices of Nerat, treats the Scarlet Chorus as his personal army. The Scarlet Chorus often suffers tremendous losses after battle, only to swell in the aftermath when captured enemies and collateral prisoners are given the cruel opportunity to join or die. Looking at this, I feel like the Disfavored would be a little bit more better suited for us, but we can read again. You lent your skills to the elite disfavored scouts to capture a border garrison. Grieve and Ash insisted that an early victory in the offensive would boost the morale of his troops and diminish the haughty overconfidence of the Southerners. Or you joined the Scarlet Chorus as they raided villages and small towns, conscripting every able-bodied man and woman into the army. The voices of Nerat emphasized the rewards of conscription and enslavement over wanton bloodshed. Apparently, his soldiers needed the reminder, so it looks like we are going to go with the disfavored here. So it says the oath-bound scouts identified a modest border defense and collaborated on an organized attack that would leave the enemy uncoordinated and cut off from aid. You oversaw the preparations and offered your opinion on the strategy. When the clashing of swords and spears fell to silence, followed by the cheering of disfavored scouts, you were the least surprised. Okay, so that's said and done. Now, Inside Agent. You found an ally within the city to prepare the way for the approaching armies, or containing the fire. The Bastard City resident fire mages threatened the first leg of the conquest. Kairos' forces put a stop to their unchecked power. Well, I mean, this would probably... Your fiercest opponents in the Bastard City were the mages of the School of Wild Wrath. Too barbaric to use their power responsibly, the unbridled practitioners needed to be stopped. How did you trick the hot-tempered mages into their own undoing? If you picked the disfavored way, you lured the hot-headed mages to an ambush where a legion of disfavored waited to spring the trap. The soldiers were hungry for a chance to subdue the arcane branch of Tyr's resistance. Going in the way of Scarlet Chorus, you tricked the guild elders into meeting with the voices of Nerat, Archon of Secrets. The Archon was notorious for his cruel and mysterious interrogation techniques. The mages were never seen again. I would rather... I mean, we're already kind of allied with the disfavored, so we might as well go there. So the mages took their more dangerous research outside of the Bastard City walls. You sent a scout to sabotage a delicate ritual, which caused an explosion that injured or killed many senior practitioners. Enraged, the survivors expended themselves on a chase through the surrounding hills, where the disfavored surrounded them and brought them to heel. The few that survived the attack were conscripted by the Scarlet Chorus, of course. Now, there is a betrayal of the Bastard City. Your tactics of infiltration placed you in the Bastard City ahead of the main armies. Your work softened the city defenses for the arrival of Kairos' forces, but you wanted a decisive gesture that would give your allies a meaningful advantage. How did you insist in the fall of the Bastard City? So you can duel the city marshal, incite a riot, or spread fear through assassination. Now let's see here. You challenge the commander of the Bastard City's defenses to an honorable fight to the death. The disfavored wish to spare soldier lives for the battles ahead and civilian lives for occupation. Sounds good. The city marshal was an old but experienced fighter, and his value to the guard was an accepted truth. After making guarantees for your protection, you met him in the square of the market district and fought in the view of tense onlookers. The battle drew on longer than you thought possible. Good fortune struck when an ornamental chain hanging from the marshal's armor snagged the Killian, I'm going to say it's Killian or Quillian, of his sword, granting you the opportunity to end his life swiftly. Kairos' forces celebrated your return to camp and the dissolution of the enemy morale. All agreed that the Bastard City was poised to crumble. And there it is. That sealed the fate of the Bastard City. So it says here, settled into a new state of normalcy, with every tower displaying Kairos' banner. Your name was whispered alongside rumors of a decorated career to come. The armies divided into two fronts and migrated south. Tunon sent word that you were to join the next frontier of Kairos' conquest, either as a judge and overseer of the settlement of Lethian's Crossing, or as a war advisor with the armies advancing into the realm of Apex. I think we want to do something like that. Rather than be a judge and overseer, I think we'd rather be a war advisor in the realm of Apex. 1 year later, 429 TR, year 2 of Kairos' conquest. So the mountain nation of Apex, ruled for generations by the queens of House Vendrian, stood at the heart of the tiers. No army could bypass the landlocked realm without leaving their flank exposed to attack. By the second year of the war, the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus had pushed deep into the tiers. Elements of both armies were dispatched to conquer Apex. Tunon assigned you to accompany them, tasked with bringing Kairos' law to the territory, as well as keeping an eye on both armies. Battle of Edgering Pass, or Denial of Strength. Let's take a look at this one. A school of water mages loyal to the Tiersmen posed a substantial threat, and the disfavored wished to annihilate the school, while the Scarlet Chorus insisted on capturing the mages wishing to learn other craft. Meanwhile, the disfavored sent their most destructive ally to crush Edgering Fort. Cairn, Arcana Stone, buried the stronghold under an avalanche triggered from the surrounding mountains. The Scarlet Chorus were promised captured enemies for recruitment, yet none survived the onslaught. The Chorus demanded compensation. I think we could see kind of the two sides of the Scarlet Chorus in this favor here. Always had a chance to surrender before the war, and trying to capture an enemy would lead to needless losses. Or, at this stage of the campaign, it was vital to lose. I guess we'll go with this one here. So, was dispatched to lay waste to the mages. The nearly indestructible Archon slew the school's champions in one glorious and bloody battle of magic. The Scarlet Chorus dispensed with any celebrations, observing that perhaps Cairn should have left something alive for his chorus allies to interrogate. You might have a point there. So you can have the captain, or poisoning the well. Or this one. When Kairos' forces captured a celebrated enemy hero, the armies bickered over his fate. The disfavored wanted him set free to convince his peers of Kairos' mercy, or the Scarlet Chorus wanted him flayed and staked as an example. I mean, I think this would be pretty cool. You agreed, sent the enemy captain back with a message. All those who surrendered or cooperate would be treated with deserving respect as subjects of Kairos' peace. I mean, that's kind of the point, right? I mean, you can be a tyrant all you want, which is the namesake of the game. However, ruling with fear isn't necessarily the only option here, right? Shocked by your clemency, the enemy captain vowed to deliver his message in full and paid his respects before departing for his encampment. Though typically more uncompromising, the disfavored praised your innovative thinking. The Scarlet Chorus despised what they viewed as resources wasted only to release a known enemy back into the wild. And that is the fall of Apex. With the defeat of Apex and Inevitability, the armies of Kairos met to discuss how to put an end to this stage of the conquest. Both armies agreed to send an offer of parley. Along with their acceptance, the enemy requested that you appear at the meeting. Word of your fair dealings had apparently spread to their ranks. How did you orchestrate the surrender of the realm of Apex? Why would you? Wow. That is horrible. Through days of mediation, you negotiated the surrender of the valley to Kairos' forces, putting an end to further bloodshed. It's probably the best thing. So your former enemies were loath to part with their lands, but they were even more reluctant to continue a war they were losing at every turn. The Tearsmen are a stubborn lot, and despite their grim situation, it still took days of discussion and diplomacy to show them the madness of tenacity. On the third day of mediation, the rules of Apex finally submit to your terms of surrender, putting an end to the war in the valley and freeing up Kairos' forces to march deeper into the tiers. And that's all for Apex there. Looks like we have 2 more sections to go in the Conquest section. So, the land of Apex finally rested in the hands of Kairos' forces, and the Scarlet Corps paused to revel in victory while the disfavored prepared for the next fight, affording themselves but an evening's rest. Kairos' armies radiated out from the conquered citadel and worked their way from across the tiers. The disfavored and Scarlet Corps aimed to dominate as much territory as possible in the coming year. Your distinguished reputation in Kairos' military left the choice of your next destination yours to make. And we will choose between Vellum Citadel, Azure, or Stalwart. With its easily defended position and rich military tradition, the realm of Stalwart was the most formidable realm in the tiers. Kairos dispatched the Archon of Stone to subjugate the nation of Azure, or Kairos' conquering gaze fell upon the Vellum Citadel, its treasures, its knowledge, and its secrets. I don't know, because Stalwart is easily defended positions, rich military tradition. The realm of Stalwart was the most formidable realm in the tiers. It looks like this would be like the kind of like the neutral zone. I feel like Stalwart might be difficult to conquer, but I mean, we don't really control that, right? So I guess we'll just go there. I'm sure everything will work out just fine. So this is 430 TR, year 3 of Kairos' conquest. So this was best known for its proud army, disciplined, courageous, and undefeated on their home soil. Skill and resolve made Stalwart a military power that Kairos' forces approached with due caution. With its southern position, Stalwart had been largely safe from war, watching for 2 years as its neighbors fell to Kairos' forces. On the dawn of the 3rd year of war, Kairos' forces were finally poised to invade the Stalwart Peninsula and subdue the tier's most vaunted army. Okay, see, this is what I thought. This tragedy is striking suddenly. Stinging defeat led to accusations among Kairos' armies. So it says, accused the disfavored of recklessness. The disfavored claimed the Scarlet Corps, brought too few soldiers to cover their flanks. Both armies refused to march until you gave a ruling. Oof. Oof. Let's look at the Stalwart defenders burn their crops as they retreated, leaving the invaders little to forage. Starving, the Scarlet Corps mob raided from the disfavored, well-maintained supply lines, incurring casualties on both sides. Well, I mean, that's just punishable because, like, we should be on the same side, more or less. It's not like there's 100 different clans, right? It's just the Scarlet Chorus and disfavored, so they should kind of, you know, obviously, I'm sure the disfavored would have aided them had they asked. So like, I don't know why they had to like raid it, right? So yeah, of course we're gonna go with that. So even in a time of war, there was no excuse for allied armies to battle each other in violation of Kairos' peace. The disfavored rightly argue that they only had enough supplies to feed their troops. The Scarlet Chorus needed to better look after their own people, and agreeing with their assessment, you had the offenders staked outside of the Scarlet Chorus camp, left to send the message that hunger was no shield from justice. And justice is right. It was due justice right there. So, I stand by my decision. Better dead than red. A string of mass suicides led to the Scarlet Chorus making demands of the disfavored, or the Beast of Stalwart, a new Scarlet Chorus tactic provoked the disfavored rage. Rather than submit to Scarlet Chorus conscription, conquered locals began committing suicide. Desperate to add more bodies to the horde, the Scarlet Chorus demanded a portion of disfavored prisoners. The disfavored denied the right of recruitment, as the realm's population had taken a steep decline. Mages discovered a spell to turn beastmen slaves against their handlers. The army prepared to deploy this tactic elsewhere, but the disfavored protested. The use of unsanctioned magical practices ran contrary to Kairos' law, and beastmen were considered too erratic to be relied upon, even as shock troops. I mean, again, that just comes to, like, the law and justice, right? I mean, clearly, here, like, this is a better choice, I feel, because it's more set in stone, because it says right there, these practices ran contrary to Kairos' law, so clearly, we need to agree with the disfavored in this situation. The Scarlet Chorus mages who discovered the trick were ordered to never use it again on pain of execution. Like, nothing bad happened to them. They were just chastised, essentially. It's not like they were killed. So, you listened to these complaints with interest, wondering if they suggested some greater flaw in the conquest, but stood by your decision. The disfavored took the more orderly approach. Kairos' peace meant nothing without order, and that just goes right back to justice, like I said. The disfavored carved a slow, steady path into the heart of Stalwart and surrounded the enemy's massive fortress. Within the main bulk of their forces defeated, the enemy leadership retreated to their mighty fortress, content to wait out the war. The Overlord answered the impudence with an edict of storms on the peninsula, a devastating spell that would endure for as long as the cowardly hearts of the Stalwart's leaders persisted in beating. Knowing you had the trust of Grieve and Ash, Tunon deemed you the proper representative to deliver Kairos' edict. Aside from being given a 3-day window to read the edict, you received no other instructions. Agreeing with the wishes of the disfavored, you proclaimed the edict at once, leaving the enemy no time to react. Stalwart had ample opportunity to surrender for several years. The time for mercy was long gone. In an attempt to ingratiate themselves with the people of Stalwart, the Scarlet Chorus insisted that warning be sent to the towns and villages, so that the people may prepare for the horrors about to descend on them. So this, surprisingly, I am going to agree with the Scarlet Chorus here. Using this immediately, I don't know. I wouldn't do that. I just gotta go with what I would do and what I wouldn't do. Kairos' wrath was intended for the cowardly regents of Stalwart, not those unfortunates swept up in the calamity of their leadership. And that's what I'm saying. A warning in advance of the spell would give locals time to prepare for the devastation to come. You were content to let punishment fall on the innocent as lightly as Kairos' will allows. Comforted that you might yet spare lives, you broke the seal of Kairos' Edict of Storm and read the Overlord's incantation. So, the clear skies darkened as you read the final words of the edict. A flurry of wind and rain whipped through the rolling plains and craggy canyons, turning rocks, uprooted trees, and hapless soldiers into hazardous shrapnel. Armed with a measure of foresight, you were able to remove yourself from the area before the storms grew more violent. Over time, nearby communities told of cyclones consisting of thousands of soldiers' worth of limbs, spears, armor, and skulls. What's more, the weather showed no signs of dissipating. Several units of disfavored, who fought the enemy in spite of the advancing storm, were caught up in the Overlord's magic. The few survivors regrouped and nursed their wounds. Their failure to topple the stalwart legion shamed them into believing the dead more fortunate. The name Stalwart fell from use. People took to calling it the Blade Grave, for the remade landscape festooned with the iron and bronze armaments of two once great legions. As Kairos' forces departed, you spared a glance back at the ruins of Stalwart, marveling at your work. You didn't have long to rest before Tunon called you into service once more. And that leads us, I believe, to our final sequence for Conquest. Or, you know, it's done right now. So, we will continue.
The year is 431, and Kairos' invasion has shattered all major opposition in the tiers. The Younger Realms, the Bastard Tier, the Free Cities. All who defied Kairos lay broken by battle, or bowed in surrender. The two armies of the Overlord, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, now control our lands. But our will is not yet extinguished. Not entirely. In the Valley of Vendrian's Well, those of us unwilling to bow to Kairos have banded together in defiance. Violating an oath of surrender from 2 years prior, we have staged a bloody uprising, murdering the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus garrison in a midnight assault. With their main forces spread across the tiers, the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus redeploy to Vendrian's Well to crush the resistance. But months pass with no definitive battle. As disagreement and discord paralyze the Archons, we bide our time and wait for our message of insurrection to spread across the tiers. The Overlord is not amused, and Kairos has one message for the Archons: crush the Oathbreakers or die. Kairos backs this threat with an edict, a magical commandment that can slay all in the valley should the order be ignored. The honor of proclaiming this edict fell to you. Sent across the mountains to Vendrian's Well, you carry the Overlord's edict to read before the Archons. As you finally make your way through the winding mountain passes into the valley, the ground trembles, and Kairos' magic seals the way behind you. You are trapped in Vendrian's Well, with Kairos' armies and the Oathbreakers. The only way to survive is to fulfill the terms of the Overlord's edict, in any way that you can.
Alright guys, so I'm gonna end the first video here. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked this video, please leave a like, favorite, and subscribe.